Tobias Okyere has rarely come across as one of EastEnders' more sympathetic figures since his debut as Ravi Gulati's trusted enforcer. Together, they built a lucrative drug network that soon dragged Harry Mitchell and Kojo and Harry deep into their dangerous new world. Okie, in particular, seemed to enjoy manipulating Kojo, pretending to be a friend while secretly taking over his home to use it as a base for his illegal trade. As someone on the autism spectrum, Kojo was especially vulnerable to the cruel tactic of cuckooing, in which offenders seize control of a person's home, often targeting those least able to defend themselves. Okie's cruelty deepened once Ravi fled overseas to escape vengeful gang rivals, leaving him in charge of the entire operation. Disobeying Ravi's order to release Harry, who had been captured while trying to expose their crimes, Okie instead tormented him, withholding food and offering drugs to keep him subdued. He took clear pleasure in Harry's suffering, taunting him by saying he'd soon take his girlfriend, Gina Knight, out on a date. Yet despite his intimidating bravado, Gina managed to pierce through his hardened shell. In a rare moment of honesty, Okie admitted he'd endured a chaotic upbringing. His father reappeared in his life when he was 9, showering him with gifts, only to die when Okie was 14. The loss sent his mother into a downward spiral, forcing Okie to grow up fast and care for his younger siblings. Although Gina, preoccupied with Harry's disappearance, never saw him again, that brief encounter revealed the humanity buried beneath his ruthless facade. With Kojo now working as a drug courier, Okie demanded that Harry call his best friend and lure him back under his control. Instead, Harry urged Kojo to flee, but when Kojo returned home, Okie regained power, imprisoning both men together. Meanwhile, Harry's father, Teddy Mitchell, and Kojo's brother, George Knight, began questioning Okie's story that the two had gone to Cardiff for a holiday. While they searched for answers, Kojo plotted to escape and get help for the ailing Harry, whose condition was worsening under the weight of drugs and captivity. When Harry realized he couldn't escape, he begged Kojo to save himself. Kojo managed to break free, arriving home just as Teddy finished explaining to George the nightmare their loved ones were caught in.
Rushing to Harry's rescue, Kojo, George and Teddy discovered Okie and his men preparing to load the weakened hostage into a van. Before violence could erupt, approaching police sirens sent Okie's gang scattering, leaving Harry behind.
In the aftermath, Okie turned to Ravi for help, but Ravi, now a broken man who had confessed his crimes and agreed to inform on his superiors, could only warn him to run far away before either the authorities or their furious bosses caught up. Ignoring that advice, Okie stayed behind. When Kojo slipped past George and returned to the flat, he found Okie waiting for him, knife in hand. Harry soon arrived, and the two men clashed violently as Kojo fled, suffering a breakdown in the street. Both reached for the blade, but Harry grabbed it first, and as Okie lunged forward, he fell onto the knife. Okie staggered back, bleeding heavily, while a horrified Harry tried to stop the blood, pressing his hands against the wound. Okie sneered, "You said you wanted out of this life. Well, now you're in it for life." When Harry attempted to call for help, Okie gasped, "Put that away! You want to get locked up? Are you really that stupid?" As the life drained from him, Okie murmured, "You think I wanted this? I didn't, but it's the only life I knew." Then, growing weaker, he whispered, "Not like this, man." Harry knelt beside him as the tough mask finally slipped away. "You shouldn't be here, bro," Okie said softly. "You don't know how lucky you are." His words revealed a glimmer of regret, a glimpse at the broken past that had shaped his path. His final words were haunting. "I just want my mum, man." With one final breath, Okie died, moments before Teddy arrived, determined to take matters into his own hands. EastEnders reveals surprising new Ravi and Jack twist in early iPlayer release. Priya learns the truth. EastEnders has unveiled an unexpected link between Ravi Gulati and Jack Branning as the tense drug storyline takes a dramatic new direction. In last week's episodes, Harry identified Ravi as the mastermind behind the criminal network he had been caught up in, leading to Ravi's shocking arrest, much to the disbelief of an unsuspecting Priya. While in police custody, Ravi offered to share the names of his accomplices in exchange for his freedom. However, the officers made a counter-proposal. They wanted him to act as an undercover informant within the organization. Ravi ultimately agreed, and in the latest installment he returned to Walford after being released, where he immediately came face-to-face with Jack Branning. Jack revealed that he'd been assigned as Ravi's police handler, due to their shared ties to the area, though he made it clear that he wasn't happy about being forced to work with an old adversary. Upon returning home, Ravi reassured his family that his arrest was nothing more than a misunderstanding, insisting he'd been wrongly accused after Harry's troubles spiraled out of control. Determined to defend him, Priya stormed off to confront Harry for blaming Ravi, but Nicola quickly stepped in, confirming that Ravi was indeed behind everything that had happened to Harry and Kojo. Still unconvinced, Priya visited George to get the truth, only for Kojo to shoulder the blame himself, explaining that Ravi had used his flat because he destroyed a batch of drugs. That confession gave Priya all the proof she needed to realize that Ravi was still knee-deep in criminal activity. When she returned home, Ravi finally admitted the truth. He insisted that things had got out of hand, claiming his only motive was to settle his debts and give Avani the extravagant birthday she deserved. But Priya was heartbroken by his lies and his willingness to exploit vulnerable people like Kojo. Furious and betrayed, she ended their relationship once and for all. Meanwhile, Kojo, still shaken from the hostage ordeal, was desperate to return to his own space. Seizing the chance while George and Junior were distracted, he quietly slipped out and headed back to his flat. Once inside, Kojo was startled when Okie, now on the run, suddenly appeared, demanding to talk. What happens next between the two could change everything. EastEnders' first look at Max Branning's Christmas return as family fight breaks out. A christening takes a violent turn. EastEnders is gearing up for the long-awaited return of Max Branning, who will soon be back on screen, and it won't take long before he's caught right in the middle of chaos. His reappearance follows an unexpected twist earlier this year, when viewers discovered he'd struck up a surprising connection with Zoe Slater, another familiar face who recently came back to Walford. Max later arrived in the square to attend Lauren and Peter's wedding, where old feelings briefly resurfaced between him and his former flame, Stacy. However, their reunion was short-lived. When Stacy caught Max sharing a kiss with Zoe in public, it pushed her to stick to her plan of leaving for Brazil, while Max, rejected once again, left Walford just as quickly, leaving his son Oscar devastated. As Christmas approaches, the Beals and the Brannings will gather for baby Jimmy's christening, but Max's appearance at the celebration threatens to turn the occasion upside down. The tension between brothers Max and Jack has always been explosive, and it seems another fierce clash is on the horizon. Upcoming scenes filmed at the church show the two siblings locked in a heated confrontation that soon turns physical. During the altercation, Max ends up nursing an injury, seen clutching his face with a bloodied lip as he exits the building, sparking questions over what caused the fight and what reignited the rivalry between the brothers this time. Several other familiar Walford faces will feature in the dramatic church scenes, including Cindy Beale, who hasn't shared the screen with Max since his comeback earlier in the year. When Max first returned to Albert Square, Cindy had heard he was back and set out to confront him over her son Stephen's death, but he fled before she could find him. Now, with both attending the same event, the long-anticipated confrontation is finally about to happen. Also present at the christening are Lauren and Peter, proud parents to baby Jimmy, along with other members of the extended family and friends, making the scene one of the most packed, festive gatherings the show has seen in a while. It's shaping up to be a Christmas full of fireworks in Walford, with Max right at the heart of the drama once again. EastEnders continues Mondays to Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. on BBC One, with early streaming available on BBC iPlayer from 6 a.m.